Nowadays, Sega is seen as one of the biggest forces from grace in video game history, along with other companies such as Atari and Commodore. Like those two companies, Sega dominated the home and arcade markets, even being able to go toe-to-toe with video gaming's biggest titan, Nintendo. Sega had been attempting to break into the arcade game market from as early as 1976, with their game named Motocross. Motocross was a racing game which had the player go as fast as possible without skidding off the road or hitting another vehicle on the screen. The machine used haptic feedback, which is a system that simulates touch in the form of vibrations to the user. This helped to simulate collisions by making the handlebars attached to the cabinet vibrate when such an event would occur. In North America, the game was rebranded to Fonz based around the popular Happy Days character. This was most likely an attempt to appeal to US audiences. The game is also one of the earliest examples of arcade video games in history, releasing a mere 4 years after Pong took consumers by storm, thus making Pong the first ever commercially successful video game. Sega had continued to learn and grow their name in the arcade market by releasing games such as Altered Beast, Shinobi and Alex Kidd in the mid to late 80s. However, the game I'm going to be looking into today is one released in arcade machines in 1989, known simply as Golden Axe. Golden Axe is a beat-em-up style arcade game much like Double Dragon in the original Ninja Gaiden, which used the Sega System 16 hardware, which was capable of having 128 different sprites on screen at the same time and display 4,096 different colours. This hardware was released in 1985, the same year the NES or Famicom was released in Japan. By comparison, the Famicom was only able to show a total of 25 colours on screen at once, 13 for the background and 12 for sprites. So in terms of hardware, Sega had developed something far superior to its main competitor. But having the hardware was one thing. They needed the quality games to match the quality hardware they had developed. The development of Golden Axe was spearheaded by lead designer Makoto Uchida. Uchida was also responsible for the creation of the previously mentioned Altered Beast. The lead composer for most versions of the game was Yu Takada. The original score is also what you hear in the background. However, the Commodore 64 version of the game was composed by Jero Nantel, and in my opinion, Tell's score doesn't hold up to Takada's. As I say, Takada's is my favourite in my opinion, but please let me know which one you prefer in the comments. The plot of Golden Axe sees the three main protagonists, Axe Battler, Princess Tyrus Flare, and Gilius Thunderhead, travel through the fictional kingdom of Uriah to stop the main antagonist, Death Adder. Death Adder has kidnapped the king and his daughter. He also comes across the Golden Axe, which is a sacred emblem of the kingdom, and threatens to destroy both it and the royals unless the people accept him as ruler. The three aforementioned protagonists then go on a quest to slay Death Adder and free the king and his daughter. Gilius is an axe-wielding dwarf dressed in green, whose brother was killed by the soldiers of Death Adder. Axe Battler, who sports a blue attire, is seeking revenge for the death of his mother whilst wielding a broadsword. Tyrus' parents were murdered by Death Adder, and she intends to bring him to justice using her longsword. Throughout their quest, they free the residents of a small looted village. They then travel across the sea on a giant turtle before flying to the castle on a large eagle. They proceed to defeat Death Adder, who is using the Golden Axe to battle them. However, in the Mega Drive/Genesis and PC versions of the game, once Death Adder is defeated, his mentor, Deathbringer, arrives to fight the heroes. Once Deathbringer is defeated, the heroes are given the Golden Axe, which in-game grants the player immortality. Now, in terms of what I think about the game itself, I love that it's something that you can play all in one sitting, meaning you can get full practice of the whole game, so each time you develop your skills and get better. This is even more important with the inclusion of trophies in the PS3 and PS4 releases of the game, as one trophy you can only unlock by completing the whole game without using a single continue, which for a first time player will be almost impossible, meaning if you want to get all the trophies, you have no choice but to get good and hone your skills. I also think the Kingdom of Uriah looks stunning for a game of the 16-bit era. I'm very keen on the dual backdrop seen throughout, as it helps the characters stand out with their rather bright outfits in comparison. As for the sound design, the NPCs sound very realistic, which caught me off guard and even scared me a little bit the first time I heard them. They all sound in genuine pain and despair, and to this day I'm still not sure whether that's a good thing or bad thing. bad thing. And of course, as I've mentioned before, both versions of the soundtrack are brilliant, but personally I prefer Takada's. All in all, I think the game is good as a pick up and play. However, if you're willing to commit and develop your skills, you can have even more fun with it. I actually played Golden Axe for the first ever time on what is called the Sega Reactor, which I think was released around 2010 kind of time, and was kind of Sega's answer to a motion controlled video game console, which my mother just bought home for me randomly out of the blue because I was really into Sonic at the time. It had a big picture of Sonic on it, but what I didn't know is it had all these other great Sega classics, and literally the first one that really caught my eye was Golden Axe. I played it and I absolutely loved it, and the reason I've made this video is because I recently purchased PlayStation Now and Golden Axe was on it, and I've just been non-stop playing it again. It reminded me of childhood memories. This has been a brief history and a brief look at Sega in general, getting into the video game market, as well as one of their most successful older properties from the arcade era, Golden Axe. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like it, and if you like the look of the content, I've got another video up at this point which is more on Eden, which is the obscure PS2 and PC game. So if you like this video, I'm sure you'll like that one. And please be sure to subscribe if you like these types of videos. And thank you.